Monique's mornings always began before the sun crept over San Antonio's horizon. In the quiet hours, while most of the city still slept, she would rise and prepare for another day of hard work. Every shift at the diner, every extra hour sewing clothes for neighbors who needed a little extra cash, and every sacrificed vacations, missed celebrations, had built up to this single, trembling moment. In a modest apartment that barely held the memories of better times, Monique sat on the edge of her bed, gazing at a small, neatly folded pile of cash. Each bill represented years of labor, perseverance, and hope. It wasn't simply money, it was the promise of a better future for herself and her beloved 12-year-old son, Malik. For Monique, the Tesla was more than just an automobile. It was a symbol, a shining emblem of a future where hard work and determination could finally break the chains of circumstance. Ever since she first saw a Tesla glide silently down the streets of her hometown, she had held on to that dream with both hands. In a neighborhood where opportunities were scarce, she had vowed to carve out a better life, not for vanity or extravagance, but so that Malik would grow up believing that anything was possible. Today, that long-held dream was within reach. But as she gathered her courage to step into a world that had often looked down on her, a mix of anticipation and anxiety churned inside her. The drive to the car dealership was short, but felt endless in Monique's mind. Every mile took her farther from the old life she had known, a life defined by struggle and self-doubt, and closer to the possibility of reclaiming pride. Malik sat quietly in the back seat of their aging Toyota, his eyes wide with both excitement and concern. "Mom, are you really going to get it today?" he asked in a hushed tone, as though afraid to disturb the fragile hope that hung in the air. Monique offered him a gentle smile. "Today's the day, baby. We're going to drive home in a car that shows you that dreams do come true if you work hard enough." Her voice was steady, though beneath it lay the constant drum of insecurity. As she glanced at her reflection in the rearview mirror, her heart pounded with the weight of every sacrifice that had led her here. She had saved every penny, every extra shift, every moment of frustration and pain, all for this singular opportunity. Pulling into the dealership's parking lot, Monique's eyes widened at the sight before her. The showroom was a gleaming palace of modern design. Glass walls reflected the midday sun, and rows of Teslas shone like promises of a brighter future. Despite the beauty and technological allure of the vehicles, Monique's thoughts drifted back to the hardships that had defined her life. The juxtaposition was stark. Here was a world of sleek innovation and privilege, and she, with her worn shoes and battered purse, stood on the threshold of it all. Determined not to let her past dictate her future, she parked her Toyota in a secluded corner of the lot. She knew that every detail of her appearance, from her carefully tied-back hair to the modest but clean clothes she wore, spoke volumes about who she was. As she stepped out of the car, her heels clicked against the pavement. With Malik holding her hand tightly, Monique walked toward the entrance of the dealership. Each step felt like a test of her resolve, a quiet defiance against the judgment she expected to encounter. Inside the showroom, the atmosphere was one of modern luxury. The glossy floor stretched out before her, reflecting not only the pristine Teslas, but also the many faces of customers whose lives seemed worlds apart from her own. Malik's excitement bubbled over as he tugged at her sleeve. "Mom, look! That's the one you showed me online!" he exclaimed, his voice filled with innocent awe. For a moment, Monique's nerves eased. "Yes, baby, that's the Model 3, she said, trying to share in his enthusiasm. But before they could take in the car's gleaming beauty, a voice cut through the hum of polite conversation, a voice that dripped with condescension. "Can I help you with something?" The speaker was a man in his mid-30s, dressed in a crisp shirt with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. As he approached, Monique noted the way his gaze flicked dismissively from her worn handbag to Malik's scuffed sneakers. The unspoken judgment in his eyes stung, but she held her head high. "Yes," Monique replied, her tone measured and steady despite the anger simmering beneath. "I'm interested in the Model 3. The salesman's eyebrow arched in a sneer. "The Model 3 starts at $40,000, he remarked, his tone laced with disbelief. "Are you sure you're in the right place?" His words hit Monique like a slap. In that moment, the years of hard work and sacrifice seemed to hang in the balance. Malik squeezed her hand, his eyes searching hers for reassurance. Monique drew in a deep breath and met the salesman's gaze with a determination that belied the turmoil inside. "I've been saving for this car for years," she stated firmly. "I know the price, and I'm ready to purchase." The salesman let out a short, condescending laugh and offered, "Well, saving for years might not cut it here, ma'am. But if you'd like, I can give you some brochures." His tone was dismissive, as if her determination were nothing more than a naive mistake. Ignoring the insult, Monique's gaze remained fixed on the Model 3 outside. "Actually, I'd like to see the car up close," she said, her voice unwavering. The salesman's smirk deepened as he gestured toward the door leading out to the lot. Outside, the brilliant sun cast shimmering reflections off the Teslas lined up like futuristic statues. Monique paused in front of a sleek black Model 3. Running her hand along its smooth, cool hood, she imagined the feel of the steering wheel beneath her fingers and the sense of control that came with owning something so remarkable. For her, the car was more than a possession. It was a symbol that the future could be within her reach. "Here it is," the salesman announced with a sneer as he reappeared. "It's a nice car, but as I said, it's not cheap." Monique turned to face him squarely. "I'm aware of the price," she said calmly. "I've done my research." For a moment the salesman's smirk faltered, but he quickly recovered. "Well then," he said with a tone of sarcasm, "I hope you brought your checkbook." His words were an overt challenge, meant to humiliate her further. Malik's hand tightened on hers, and for a split second Monique felt the sting of shame and the weight of the world upon her shoulders. But she refused to retreat. "No, we're not going anywhere," she declared firmly, her voice resonating with both vulnerability and strength. "I'd like to speak to your manager." A fresh round of dismissive laughter followed, louder this time. "The manager," the salesman mocked. "Sure, but don't be surprised if he tells you the same thing I did." With that, he turned on his heel and strode toward the showroom, leaving Monique and Malik standing resolute by the car. Malik's eyes, wide with a mix of confusion and admiration, met his mother's. "You're really not scared of him, are you, Mom?" he whispered. Monique smiled, though her heart pounded in her chest. "Sometimes people like him think they can make you feel small, but you have to stand your ground." Her words, though soft, carried the weight of years of struggle and hard-earned pride. Just as the tension threatened to overwhelm the moment, the dealership's atmosphere shifted dramatically. Minutes later, the salesman returned, accompanied by a taller, older man whose presence radiated quiet authority. This was the manager, a man with a neutral expression, yet one who exuded skepticism as he approached. "I understand you wanted to see me," the manager said, his voice measured as he glanced briefly at the salesman before looking at Monique. "Yes," Monique replied coolly. "I'm interested in buying a car, but your salesman's behavior suggests I'm not taken seriously as a customer." The manager's eyebrows lifted in surprise. He shot a quick questioning look at his subordinate. "Well, ma'am, we don't mean to make anyone feel unwelcome. If you're serious about purchasing, we can sit down and discuss financing options." Before Monique could respond, another voice broke into the scene, steady, calm, and commanding. "What's going on here?" All eyes turned toward the source of the interruption. A man in a plain black t-shirt and jeans had stepped out of a nearby car. In that moment, time seemed to slow as his presence filled the space with a blend of calm confidence and unmistakable authority. His casual attire contrasted sharply with the starchy uniforms of the dealership staff. The salesman's smirk vanished, replaced by a look of panic. The manager's demeanor stiffened, his polished facade cracking as he realized who had entered the fray. "Hi, I'm Elon," the man said, extending his hand first to Monique and then crouching slightly to greet Malik. "It's nice to meet you both." His voice was friendly, warm, and disarming. "So, what seems to be the issue here?" Monique hesitated only a moment before responding. "I was simply trying to buy a car, but your salesman made it clear he didn't think I was worth his time." Her voice, though calm, carried the weight of every moment of humiliation she'd endured. Elon's gaze shifted to the salesman. "Is that true?" he asked quietly, his tone serious. The salesman's confident facade crumbled under the scrutiny of Elon's penetrating stare. I didn't think she was serious about buying," he mumbled, avoiding eye contact. Elon shook his head slowly. "This company stands for innovation and inclusivity, not for looking down on potential customers." Turning back to Monique, his expression softened. "Monique, I'm sorry you had to experience that. Let's get you the help you need." He paused and then added with a reassuring smile, "Malik, I bet you're proud of your mom for standing up for herself, aren't you?" Malik's eyes shone with admiration as he nodded. Elon continued, "How about you and Malik join me inside? I'd like to walk you through everything personally." The manager, eager to regain control, began to interject, but Elon raised his hand. "No, you won't," he said firmly. With the tension dissipating, Elon led Monique and Malik toward a quieter corner of the showroom. The once hostile atmosphere shifted as employees and onlookers watched in silent awe. Every step felt surreal for Monique. This was the day she had dared to dream, and now fate was intervening in a way she never could have imagined. Elon guided Monique and Malik to a sleek desk in a quiet area away from the main showroom. With practiced ease, he pulled out a chair for Monique and sat down across from her. "So, the Model 3, he began. "Is it the one you've been dreaming about?" His tone was gentle and curious, a stark contrast to the earlier hostility. Monique's voice grew steadier as she spoke. "Yes, I've been saving for this car for years. It's more than just a car. It's a symbol of everything I've worked for. I want Malik to see that with hard work, even dreams that seem out of reach can become real." Her words, imbued with emotion and determination, resonated deeply with Elon. He nodded, clearly moved. "I understand more than you might think," he said quietly. "My mother worked tirelessly for everything we had. I know what it means to fight for a chance." Malik's eyes sparkled at the comparison, and Monique felt a warmth spread through her heart as she realized she was not alone in her struggles. As paperwork was quietly brought over by a professional employee, Elon took the time to walk Monique through each step. He explained financing options, warranty details, and even introduced her to some of the company's community initiatives. "At Tesla, we believe that every customer matters," he said, "and we need to ensure that everyone, no matter their background, has a chance to be part of our vision for the future." Monique listened intently, absorbing every word. For the first time in her life, she felt truly respected. "I've always believed that hard work should be rewarded," she said softly, "and today I feel like I'm finally being seen for who I am." Elon smiled warmly. Today isn't just about buying a car, he said. It's about setting an example. It's about showing your son and everyone watching that you can rise above humiliation and claim your dignity. You deserve this opportunity, Monique. When the paperwork was complete, Elon handed Monique the keys to a brand new Model 3. "Congratulations," he said, his tone sincere. "You've earned this, and I hope every time you drive, you remember that you are strong and you can overcome anything." Monique's hands trembled as she accepted the keys, and for a long moment, silence filled the space between them. Malik's eyes were wide with wonder, and the pride in his expression told her that this was more than a purchase. It was a milestone for their family. In the days that followed the dramatic incident at the dealership, Monique's life began to shift in ways she had never expected. A bystander had recorded the entire interaction, and the video quickly went viral on social media. The world saw a hardworking mother standing tall in the face of humiliation, and an influential billionaire stepping in to ensure that respect and fairness prevailed. Messages of support poured in from every corner of the country. Single mothers, entrepreneurs, and even strangers sent heartfelt emails thanking her for showing that courage in the face of adversity could spark change. In local news segments, reporters interviewed people who were inspired by her unwavering resolve. Monique's story became a rallying cry for those who had ever felt underestimated. One crisp morning, as Monique prepared breakfast for Malik, she checked her phone. Among the flood of congratulatory messages was a tweet from Elon Musk himself. "Every customer matters. Let's build a future where everyone feels welcome and valued. Shout out to Monique for reminding us what's truly important." Malik bounded into the kitchen, phone in hand, his excitement infectious. "Mom, they're talking about you online. You're famous," he exclaimed. Monique laughed softly and ruffled his hair. "I'm not after fame, Malik. I just want people to know that when you stand up for yourself, you open the door for others to do the same." The dealership, once a place of cold indifference, now buzzed with a renewed sense of purpose. Even the salesman who had once sneered at her now kept his head down, clearly chastened by the public scrutiny. The manager, eager to repair the damage, instituted changes in customer relations, promising better training and respect for every visitor. For Monique, the transformation wasn't just external. In the quiet moments after the whirlwind of events, she found herself reflecting on the power of dignity and perseverance. The Model 3 was not merely a car. It was a symbol that her years of sacrifice had culminated in a victory over those who would have belittled her dreams. And perhaps more importantly, it was a promise to Malik that no matter how harsh the world might be, his mother would always stand tall for what she believed in. As weeks turned into months, Monique began to see the ripple effects of that day extend far beyond the dealership's polished floors. Inspired by her experience, she became more involved in community efforts to support hard-working families and those who had faced discrimination. She spoke at local community centers, sharing her story with other mothers and individuals who needed hope. Her words, full of quiet strength and lived experience, resonated deeply with those who had known struggle. Monique also dedicated time to Malik's education. She wanted him to understand that the true value of success was measured not in possessions, but in perseverance, self-respect, and compassion for others. Together, they would drive the Model 3 along the busy streets of San Antonio, the hum of the electric engine serving as a constant reminder that the future was built on the courage to dream big, even when the odds were stacked against you. Every drive was a lesson in hope. Malik would ask thoughtful questions about the car, its technology, and what it meant for a family like theirs. Monique would answer with honesty and pride, often pausing to reflect on how far they had come. "This car," she would say, "is a promise that you can achieve great things no matter where you start. It's a testament to the fact that hard work is seen, even if sometimes it takes someone else to remind the world of that truth. And as the community began to notice, Monique found herself becoming a local role model. Neighbors who once passed her by with indifference now greeted her warmly, many even sharing their own struggles and small victories. A sense of unity grew in the neighborhood, a belief that every individual deserved to be treated with respect, regardless of their circumstances. At the same time, Elon Musk's intervention continued to spark conversations at Tesla headquarters. Internally, discussions arose about how the company could better serve every customer, ensuring that the values of innovation and inclusivity were not just buzzwords, but a daily practice. Monique's encounter was cited in meetings, and new initiatives were launched to improve customer relations and community outreach. In this way, one courageous act had set in motion a series of changes that extended well beyond a single transaction. For Monique, the memory of that day at the dealership became a turning point, a moment that reshaped not only how others saw her, but how she saw herself. No longer defined solely by hardship, she began to embrace her worth. Each day, as she navigated life with newfound confidence, she reminded herself that dignity was something no one could take away. Late at night, when the house grew quiet and Monique drifted to sleep, Monique would sit by the window and reflect. In those moments of solitude, she would trace the delicate folds of the cash she had saved, recalling every long shift and every tear shed in moments of doubt. And with each recollection, she felt an inner strength growing, a strength that whispered that the future, while uncertain, was hers to shape. Encouraged by her own transformation, Monique started to document her journey in a small journal. She wrote about the challenges, the painful encounters, and the unexpected kindness that had altered the course of her day. These writings soon evolved into a series of reflections that she shared at local gatherings and eventually on a community blog. Her words resonated with many, inspiring others to stand up for themselves and to believe that every small victory was worth celebrating. In time, Monique's story grew into something larger than a single car purchase. It became a symbol, a reminder that one act of courage, no matter how small it may seem, could ripple outward to create lasting change. Local media picked up her story, and soon interviews and features followed. People from different walks of life wrote letters praising her resolve and thanking her for reminding them of the importance of self-respect. At one community event, a young single mother approached Monique with tears in her eyes. "You showed me that I don't have to accept being treated like I'm less than I am," she said softly. "Your strength has given me hope." In that moment, Monique realized that her decision to stand up at the dealership had not only changed her own life, but had also ignited the courage in others. Elon Musk's tweet had sparked broader conversations about customer service, inclusion, and corporate responsibility. Internally at Tesla, discussions were underway to ensure that every customer was met with the respect they deserved. For Monique, it meant that her personal battle had contributed to a larger movement, one where even the most vulnerable could demand their dignity and be heard. As the years went by, the impact of that fateful day at the dealership continued to unfold. Monique grew up with the powerful memory of the day his mother had stood up, not only for herself, but for every person who had ever felt belittled or underestimated. The Model 3 became more than just a car. It was a moving testament to resilience, a daily reminder that the future was built on the courage to. Monique, too, evolved into a respected figure in her community. She began speaking at schools, community centers, and local government meetings, using her experience to advocate for greater respect and equality. "Never let anyone tell you what you're worth," she would say. "Stand tall, fight for yourself, and know that every dream is valid." Her words, once spoken with quiet determination in a car dealership, now resonated powerfully with audiences far and wide. At home, Monique continued to nurture the dreams of both herself and Malik. Together they would plan for the future, a future where education, perseverance, and compassion paved the way for opportunities that once seemed impossible. Malik, inspired by his mother's journey, pursued his studies with passion and eventually became an advocate for youth empowerment, always remembering the lesson that a single stand can spark change. In a reflective moment on the anniversary of that pivotal day, Monique found herself driving down a quiet road at dusk. The electric hum of the Model 3 was a soothing reminder of the possibilities ahead. As she navigated the gentle curves of the road, she thought about the journey from the humiliation at the dealership to the profound transformation that had reshaped her life and her community. Every mile was a testament to the fact that standing up for oneself can change not only one's destiny, but also the destiny of those who follow. Monique recalled Elon Musk's parting words, "Don't waste this chance." She had taken that challenge to heart, and in doing so, had created a ripple that extended far beyond what she could have ever imagined. At home that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, Monique sat down with Malik. They talked about their dreams for the future, dreams that were no longer distant but within reach. Malik's eyes shone with determination, and Monique knew that the legacy of that day would live on in him and in everyone who had been inspired by her courage. And so, as the Model 3 carried her down that open road, Monique's heart swelled with quiet pride. Her life was a collection of moments, each one a stepping stone toward a future defined not by humiliation, but by hope, resilience, and the unwavering belief that every person deserves to be seen, respected, and valued. Monique's journey, from the moment she gathered her savings on a modest bed to the day she boldly confronted humiliation at a car dealership, became a living testament to the transformative power of courage and self-respect. It was a story that spread far beyond San Antonio, touching hearts and inspiring countless others to stand up for their dreams. Her encounter with Elon Musk was more than a chance intervention. It was a turning point in a narrative about the dignity of every human being. In that single moment, Monique's quiet determination shattered the barriers of prejudice, sending a clear message that no matter how small one's beginnings, every dream deserves a chance to flourish. In the months and years that followed, Monique continued to build on her experience, dedicating herself to causes that championed fairness and opportunity for all. Through community events, public speaking, and heartfelt conversations with those who needed encouragement, she ensured that the lessons of that day would never be forgotten. Her legacy became intertwined with the idea that a single act of defiance, a refusal to be diminished, could light the way for an entire community. For Malik, the story of his mother became a guiding light, a reminder that no matter how challenging life might seem, the strength to overcome adversity resided within him. As he grew, he carried forward the message of perseverance and hope that Monique had instilled, ensuring that her triumph would inspire future generations. And every time the Model 3 glided silently along the streets of San Antonio, it wasn't just a car driving by. It was a symbol of a hard-won victory, a beacon of change, and a promise that when one stands up for oneself, the world can indeed be transformed. Monique's story is not merely about buying a car, it's about reclaiming self-worth and showing that every person, regardless of background, has the right to dream big. Her brave stand against humiliation and the unexpected kindness of a billionaire who recognized the value of every customer remind us that opportunities can arise from the most unlikely encounters. In a world that often tries to diminish the voices of those on the margins, Monique's courage serves as a powerful reminder that dignity is earned not by what one possesses, but by the strength to stand up and demand respect. And while the road ahead may be long and fraught with challenges, every step taken with conviction brings us closer to a future where everyone can share in the promise of a brighter tomorrow. May this tale inspire all who hear it to believe that every act of resilience, every refusal to be silenced, and every dream nurtured against the odds is a spark that can ignite profound change.